All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Scandariato, here with Red Knight Properties. And today we have a special guest here with us, Fred Moskowitz. And Fred joins us as an experienced speaker, author, and educator. He's the author of The Little Green Book of Note Investing, which is a practical guide for getting started with investing in mortgage notes. He has a wealth of real estate experience, particularly on the note side, which we don't have guests come on that often to talk about, how that's different from investing in traditional equities. So really excited to have Fred on our show today and talk about what he's seeing in the market and kind of what he's pivoting or focusing on in 2022 and beyond. So thanks for coming on, Fred.
Thank you, Anthony. It's great to be here.
Excellent. So just tell us about your book. What inspired you to write this? Maybe just give us your background a little bit better than I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to. Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be on your show and have a nice discussion that that your listening audience can learn from and enjoy. I love sharing some of the strategies and techniques that we use. So a little bit about me. I had a very long, successful career. I was working as a computer engineer, and I spent a lot of time working at technology startup companies. And what I've been through was basically after seeing my entire industry get turned upside down from the bursting of the dot-com bubble, which was then followed by the September 11th attacks. And it made me realize that I was too dependent on the income from my job. And that was really risky because, as you can imagine, it was a job full of all of these circumstances that are completely out of my control. And what I learned was that no matter how talented of an engineer I was or how valuable of an employee I was, no matter what, if things were not going well financially at the company or not going well in the industry, well, I would quickly lose my job and it would be for no fault of my own. And so, having been through that, I came to this realization that I needed to have other sources of income so that I would not be dependent on the paycheck from my job. And so that started me on this amazing journey of investing, of acquiring assets, buying and building assets of all types. And that's really how I got started. Started out with building up a rental portfolio of residential single family, multifamily properties in Philadelphia, where I am, and eventually transitioned into multiple other asset classes, one of which was investing in notes, investing in the debt side of real estate transactions, which I really loved for a lot of reasons. But that's how I got started. And with the note investing, that's something I started about 12 years ago. And what I really was drawn to was that with note investing, you're investing in an asset that's secured by a real asset, something with tangible value, and also that you could buy these notes at a discount from what's owed. And so, as real estate investors, right, whether you're investing in single family, multifamily, everyone's trying to buy at a discount, buy for lower than market value. Well, in the note investing industry, that's pretty standard practice. And so I was really drawn to that. And I found this to be such a powerful asset class.
Right. That's an awesome story. So how did you or how what type I mean, obviously you mentioned single family, multifamily. I'm sure you
Mhm.
have some other asset classes from the real estate side in your portfolio.
Yeah.
But how do you get access to your deals? Because we interviewed a gentleman that has hedge fund relationships where they put them on the wholesale market, they put them on the wholesale market, then they buy from the hedge funds and they resell them. So how do you get access to your notes?
Well, that's a great question, Anthony. And a big part of it is it's through relationships, uh, just like you mentioned, it's through relationships with hedge funds, relationships with other note investors, with banks and institutions. Everything is done in the note industry. Everything's done through personal relationships, and it is a small community. It really is. But everyone knows each other. We all know each other. Our colleagues. We are both competitors and business partners, just depending on what day it is, right? We'll do deals with each other, buy and sell notes to each other all the time. There's a huge secondary market for mortgage notes. And here's something that I'm sure most of you can relate to, right? Have you ever taken out financing on a property, whether you're buying a property, refinancing, and you get a good get a good loan, a good mortgage set up, and I'll tell you, within 2 months or 6 months or maybe a year later after closing, you get a letter from the lender saying, "Dear borrower, please be advised that your loan has been sold. And starting next month, you will send your payments to the new lender. Here's their address, here's their contact information. And by the way, don't worry, none of the terms of your loan will change. Your payment amount, your interest rate will all stay the same. However, starting from next month, send your payment to the new address." Right? Happens all the time, every day. I have not met a real estate investor or homeowner that has not had this experience, but that is the secondary market at work. But for those of us that are active in the note industry, it is all based on personal relationships.
Excellent. No, it makes a lot of sense and very relevant to what we're doing here over at my company as well. We usually are networking with real estate brokers, commercial real estate brokers, to find our deals. So yours is
And
a little bit different, but similar.
but isn't it true? Like the best deals come from the relationships you have. You will get a call from that broker to say, "Hey, Anthony, we had this deal. It was under contract. It fell
Yep.
apart. Do you want to take a look
Happens
at
all the
this?
time.
We'll give you a first shot." That comes from building relationships. And no matter what type of investing you do, I really feel this. If you can get good at networking, at building relationships, at nurturing them, that is going to serve you well throughout your life and throughout your career, especially as an investor.
Oh, absolutely. And you have some unconventional ways of um, tapping into liquidity in order to buy these notes. So you mentioned self-directed IRAs. Can you talk to us about how that works, particularly for the note investing? Obviously, we've talked about it on our show before, how it works for just regular, real estate investing. Is it very similar in that regards, or what's your experience with that?
Yes, it is very similar. I love the strategy of using self-directed retirement accounts. I think that this is such a wonderful source of capital that a lot of us have, and it's a great way to use it. I do deals in my Roth IRA all the time. You can invest in so many different asset classes. But let's talk about with notes specifically. There's two ways to invest in notes. You can either invest in notes by buying an individual note, right, and owning that, or you can invest in a note fund as well, which is best way I can describe that. Think of a real estate syndication, a multifamily real estate syndication, where there's a private placement, the sponsor raises capital and then goes out and deploys that capital. Well, a note fund is the same idea. The fund manager raises capital through a private placement, and then they will go out and buy notes in bulk quantity. And when they do that, they're able to negotiate better buying power, better discounts, have better access to notes. It really allows you to shop at a different window for buying on the acquisition side. So with self-directed retirement accounts, you're investing either in a private placement or you're investing in a note. Your ownership interest will be titled in the name of the IRA, right? And then any payments, any income that comes in, that's going to go directly into your custodian. They will put it into your account. So it works much like investing in a multifamily syndication in your IRA. Same idea. You never have access to the money directly. Your custodian awaits your just instructions where you self-direct. Here's what to invest. You do your due diligence on the asset, on the note fund, but then you direct the custodian to go ahead and purchase that investment on your behalf. And then they will manage it for you. They will receive the income and the payments and credit it to your account. So it works much like you may be familiar with. Always, the account holder does not have direct access to the money. Everything's handled through a third party, through your custodian, and they will do everything that they need to do to keep your IRA compliant with the IRS and not have any kind of prohibited transactions. And that's their job. They make sure that all the compliance is in place and that you don't get into trouble, because the last thing any custodian, IRA custodian, ever wants is to have one of their customers, their account holders, have their IRA invalidated by the IRS, because that's a really ugly situation. If you do it in a transaction that is disqualified, that could potentially disqualify your entire account. And what happens is the IRS will treat it as a full distribution of all the money in that account. And then you're going to get hit with a huge tax bill. And that is something, yeah, that is something that I do not wish on anyone. And it's so easy to avoid. It's just a matter of doing things right. You don't play games with the rules, know what they are, and follow the rules. And when you do that, that's how you can be successful.
Right. How about HSAs, health savings accounts?
HSAs, oh, I love HSAs. There's some unique characteristics to them, but with doing the investing, it doesn't change anything at all. Same rules apply. But what I like about HSAs is that when you contribute to them, you get a tax deduction for that, just like a tax deduction on contributing to a traditional IRA. But with HSAs, you get a tax deduction when you put the money in, and then you can grow that capital tax-free. And then when it comes time to distribute it, to take it out, you can, that can also be done tax-free, provided that it's used for medical expenses, right? HSA is the health savings account. But if you use it for medical expenses, then there's no taxable action there. And the best thing about HSAs is you don't have to do that distribution until you want to. So you can defer it for years and years and years if you want. And that's okay, because maybe, Anthony, you look like a young guy, you're in good health. You don't have a lot of medical expenses right now, right? So you can just let them build up. Just keep good records, you keep your receipts, let them build up. You invest your HSA into notes, let them generate income. It's growing, it's tax-free. And let's say 10 years down the road, you have a big medical expense coming up. Well, okay, now I can do a distribution from that for that covered medical expense, and that will be completely tax-free. And as you can imagine, for all of us, we get older, our health declines, and then our our medical needs, our medical expenses will increase way off into the future. And then that's the time to receive those distributions. And that when you keep all of that in the forefront, it can be really one of the most powerful vehicles that's available to us.
Right. You just have to designate it, like you said, towards medical expenses. But at some point, you're probably going to have medical expenses that are pretty
Yeah,
large in your life.
undoubtedly,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Um, and Fred, how did you, obviously, I mentioned when we started the show, you wrote the Little Green Book of Note Investing. When did you come out with that? Can you talk to us about just the summary and why
Yeah,
you wrote it?
absolutely. So that book came out about a year ago, 2021. And what was happening was I've been speaking on a lot of podcasts and doing a lot of interviews, a lot of speaking. And I've had so many people come to me saying, Hey, Fred, do you teach? How does someone get started? I get asked all the time, how do I invest money? I don't know. I don't know how to get started. And so I saw this need to put together an educational book about note investing. It's something I'm passionate about. I love connecting with other investors. And so I found this as a great way to share my experience, my expertise with a wider audience. And so I started writing the book, and it's been such a wonderful experience. It really is a high level overview with a lot of actionable steps, the strategies, the tactics that one uses to get involved in note investing. And it doesn't matter if you're investing actively as an active investor buying notes, or as a passive investor where you're investing in a note fund. Either way, I cover both of those, and I do spend a fair amount of time talking about using self-directed accounts as a strategy, because that is so powerful. But that's why I wrote the book, and it's been so rewarding. I've had so many people reaching out to me, and it's wonderful because I my time is limited. I manage a note fund. That's my primary focus, and my obligation is to the people that are involved in that with me. And so I don't really do a lot of education or one-on-one training, but the book was a great way to do it, where I do that work once, and now the knowledge can be shared to many individuals. And
Right.
so when people come to me asking about that, I always say, look, I don't do teaching right now. I don't have the bandwidth for it, but my book is a great resource. It's out there, and you can check it out and benefit from that.
Sure, great way to leverage your time and to leverage resources and knowledge. Really like that a lot. Fred, how can my audience find you, learn more about you, connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Best way to connect with me is to visit my website, which is fredmoskowitz.com, or for an easier spelling, and you can go to the website giftfromfred.com. And for anyone that visits that website, I have a special offer. I have a special report about note investing. I'd be happy to send that to anyone that connects with me. Just go to my website, go to giftfromfred.com and sign up there. We'll email you the special report. It talks in more detail about note investing, what it is, how to get involved, and some of the different ways to do that. And I always love connecting with and speaking with investors. As I mentioned earlier, building relationships, it's something I love, and I'm very passionate about that. And I always enjoy connecting with other investors. It's really rewarding, and just building out a great network of amazing people.
And where can we find your book? Is it on Amazon or?
It is on Amazon. You can search either by the title, The Little Green Book of Note Investing, or you can search my name as well, and it will pop right up.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it. And for the audience, if you liked what you heard and or saw today, please give us a rating and review on iTunes. It'll help Fred and our community's message get out to a greater audience. So we'd really appreciate that. And Fred, thanks again for coming on. We'll have a link to Fred's website as well as his special report tagline in our social media description and on iTunes and pretty much every platform you can think of. So I really appreciate you coming on, Fred, and look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you. And thank you for having me on the show today. It's a wonderful conversation.
Been a pleasure.